Good morning and welcome to the Milton Keynes Business Channel. I'm delighted to welcome Kim Smith on today. Hi Kim, how are you doing?
Hello, I'm doing well, thank you.
Thanks very much for your time today. It's lovely to see you. Purpose of you coming on today is you're very well known at raising awareness of sepsis. And
yes, that's right. I want to try and prevent people dying from it or ending up a quad amputee like me. I lost my hands and legs from it, so I just want to help try and save lives.
And a few people in Milton Keynes have recommended me to you. I've noticed you've got tens of thousands of followers on social media, so you're obviously doing a great job.
Well, I'm trying to get the awareness out there. I had no idea what sepsis was until I got it and ended up having to have all 4 limbs amputated. And I kind of felt that I was saved, basically. I mean, I'm not a massive churchgoer or anything. I don't pretend to be, but I do believe I was saved to then use my voice, tell my story, to raise awareness of sepsis and save lives. And I'm constantly getting messages. I got a message only a couple of days ago again saying if it hadn't been for me, her dad would be dead now. She'd found him unresponsive and slurred speech and whatever, and she'd remembered my video and she got into hospital and he was saved. So, you know, that's why I do what I do. I get messages like that all the time, and getting that message out there about sepsis is just so important. There's not enough awareness. We need the government to do more. The other thing is we're most sepsis survivors, not all, are left with what's called post-sepsis syndrome. Now, most of us now have heard of long COVID. Long COVID hasn't been around for as long as sepsis, and yet they don't recognise post-sepsis syndrome. Sorry, my sister was making a noise in the background.
Those that don't know, what is sepsis? Just to
sepsis is an extreme reaction by your immune system to an infection. So instead of fighting the infection, your immune system goes into overdrive and it just goes absolutely crazy and starts developing sepsis. And sepsis will then start shutting down all your vital organs. It basically is attacking its own body. And so it starts shutting down all your vital organs. And then, I mean, it was known years ago as septicemia. A lot of people say, oh, I've heard of septicemia. It's septicemia. And I'm like, well, that's what it used to be called. It's now called sepsis. And some people seem to think that you can only develop it, or you can only catch it, and you can't catch it. You can catch it in hospital and you can only get it in hospital. And I'm like, no, that's not right. I had somebody call me a liar at the weekend because I said, no, that's not right. You can develop sepsis, but you can only develop it from an infection. You cannot catch sepsis. This person was telling me I was a liar because I was saying that it's not caught and it's not just in hospital. I didn't develop sepsis in hospital. A lot of my followers on Facebook then said, no, I didn't get sepsis in hospital. My family member didn't get sepsis in hospital. It was an infection. And that is the thing. It is an infection that develops into sepsis. And what happens is your body just starts to kind of shut down and react to it quite quickly once sepsis gets involved. I think from my understanding, I'm not a professional, I think you can have sepsis for a while before you get into septic shock. Once you get into septic shock, that's when the organs are starting to shut down. And that's when you need to get really urgent medical treatment. You need to get to hospital as a immediate priority, because if you don't, you could die. It can kill you in less than 24 hours. It is so extreme, and delaying getting treatment is what causes deaths and also kind of limb loss, like me. I went to the hospital. I was in Spain on holiday when it happened, and I'd started to feel quite unwell, but something kind of made me think I'd got a urine infection that had gone to my kidneys, because I started getting pain in my left side. And I went to the hospital, and I can speak a bit of Spanish, and I said to them, dolor aquí, which means pain here, and pointed to my left side. Because I didn't know the word for urine or kidney, because it's not a word I'd ever used in my language that I was speaking, I didn't say infection, and infection is extremely similar to English. It's infection. So, you know, even if I'd have said infection, I think infection, they may have understood that. But I didn't say anything. So I know now I was already confused. So I didn't say it. I was quite poorly even then. So I'd gone to the desk, I'd done that. Apparently, and I don't remember it, they then took me and x-rayed me. They said that my back wasn't broken and sent me away. No other tests were done, nothing. The following day, I said to my husband, you've got to take me to the doctors. I've got to get to doctors. Went to the doctors, and the doctor tested my urine. I don't remember doing it, but apparently I'd done a screenshot on my phone, because in town you couldn't get Wi-Fi. So I'd gone to the doctors and I'd screenshot this Translate app saying, I think I have a urine infection. And he tested my urine, given me an injection in my bottom, given me a prescription for antibiotics. My husband went in the chemist to get the antibiotics. They said, oh, we haven't got any in stock, come back tomorrow. At that stage, I should have been sent to hospital for IV antibiotics. Had I been sent to hospital for IV antibiotics then, I don't think I would have lost my limbs. I went home. I was so poorly, I went to bed. I woke my husband at 4 a.m. I said, I think I'm going to die. I need to go to hospital. I'm seriously ill. I'm dying. And I just knew that I was dying. I felt so ill. I've never felt like it in my life. Got to hospital, and I don't actually remember going. I don't remember getting there. I remember vaguely coming out of the villa, getting in the car, and my husband taking me, but I don't remember getting to hospital and what happened next. So he was told to wait in a patient waiting room, and he waited in the patient waiting room for about 2 hours, and then they brought my pajamas and my dressing gown and jewelry to him in a bag and said, she won't be needing these, she could die. And he was just absolutely gobsmacked. They said, she's got 6 hours to live. He went home, phoned the family. They all scurried around trying to get flights to come over. They came over. They came to see me the next morning and couldn't get in. They described it as kind of a little, like a drive-through window, and just kind of were talking on a phone to me. And then in the afternoon, they came back and they were allowed in. They all gowned up and they all came in. And then they pulled back the sheets to see, hold my hand maybe, I don't know. And my hands had already gone purple. So they knew at that stage that I would lose my hands. I was in a coma in Spain for 6 weeks. And my daughter managed to find my travel insurance on my phone. And she'd been phoning the travel insurance, and they kept saying, we can't foresee why she can't travel back on a commercial airline. In the end, she lost the plot with them and kind of said, look, you've been saying this to me every time I phoned. How the hell do you expect her to get onto a commercial airline when she's in a coma, wired up to all kinds of machinery to keep her alive? She can't. So they went away, came back, phoned her and said they were going to send an ambulance, an air ambulance, a helicopter or whatever it was, I don't know, plane. And they flew me back to Luton and transferred me then to Milton Keynes Hospital. Milton Keynes Hospital had been told by Spain that I had black digits. My arms were black, my legs were black. I lost my legs above the knee. That's not just your fingers and toes black. My right arm is about an inch or so shorter. I think you can see that, about an inch or so shorter than the other one when I put the elbows together. So I lost just above the wrist on the right arm, and I believe that knobbly bit on the end of my left arm is my wrist. I don't know if it is or not. But Milton Keynes Hospital then said to my girls, you know, I'm in a critical way. I've got 48 hours. The next 48 hours are critical. And my eldest daughter said, oh, don't tell us that. She's going to pull through. She's lasted this long. She's a survivor. And here I am today, kind of telling my story. I spent 3 weeks in Milton Keynes Hospital in a coma. I was then transferred to a ward before being moved then to Bedford Hospital for my amputations once I was well enough to actually have the surgery. They took me down to amputate one leg. Everything went so well, they ended up doing all 4. I spent 3 months in Bedford Hospital before then being transferred to Roehampton at Queen Mary's Hospital to learn how to sit up again. That sounds crazy, but my body just didn't know how to sit up anymore. And I had to learn how to basically kind of walk on my bottom so that I could walk along the plinth that I was on, or the bed, or, you know, to transfer. Then I had to learn how to transfer from the bed to the wheelchair, back and forth, and to be able to transfer into a car, to get in a car to go anywhere. And that all took, I think it was about 7 weeks. I was booked in for 12, but I could have stayed longer if I'd have needed it. But in 7 weeks, I was done and they let me go home. And I just got home, and I don't know, I think one of my girls sort of said, oh, you should get TikTok and you should start raising awareness of it. And I think that was kind of my medicine. I mean, I was very depressed in the early days after losing my limbs. It was a very dark time for me. But I think as I started telling my story, it was kind of like a therapy. I then knew that I was helping to save lives, and that then made me want to carry on living and tell my story and show how I do things, like how I can eat, how I can do my makeup, how I can blow dry my hair. People seem to be fascinated by all these things that people can do when they don't have hands and legs. So, you know, I kind of promote that. But everybody needs to learn the symptoms of sepsis and what you need to look for with any infection at all. If you start to feel unwell, is slurred speech and confusion, extreme shivering and muscle pain, passing little or no urine in a day, severe breathlessness, it feels like you're going to die, skin mottled or discoloured, cold skin to touch. I had extremely cold hands and feet and I couldn't get them warm. I had severe breathlessness. I put that down to my asthma. I had the slurred speech. I put that down to a medication that I used to take. I was freezing cold. I'd got jumpers on. I'd got blankets round me. I'd got the central heating on, and I was shivering. I just thought it was the weather. You know, the climate change. We put these things down to other things. You know, like you might think, oh, I've got the flu, I'll go to bed. No, get to hospital. You know, the minute anyone tells me now they've got an infection, I just panic and I straight away send them the list of sepsis symptoms and say, look, if you get any of these symptoms or you start to feel unusually unwell and you think something's going on that's a bit different, get to A&E, ask to be checked. Do not call 111 because that delays. It can take ages for them to call you back. 999 are pretty good. But I've just recently heard that sepsis is secondary to other things that they have to act on quickly, I guess, like a stroke or a heart attack. So if you can get to hospital by your own steam, then do it, is what I say to people. But everybody needs to be aware that any infection at all, even a graze or a cut on your finger, anything at all can develop into sepsis. Most people are shocked when I go to them. You know, they look at me and oh, do you mind me asking what happened? And I go, well, a UTI caused this. Their jaw just drops to the floor. And they're like, oh, didn't know UTI could do that. And I'm like, any infection can do this. Everybody needs to be aware, and there's just not enough awareness out there. I'm an ambassador for sepsis research feet, and I'm a volunteer for the UK Sepsis Trust. And I go out doing talks all over. If anyone ever wants me to go and do a talk to a business, to make awareness to their staff, I will do it. I go to hospitals. I go all over doing talks to just try and help. I just feel that I have to do what I can to try and help save lives. So, yeah.
It's a very noble story. So it affects people of all ages. It's
all ages. Yeah, it doesn't discriminate.
Out of nowhere.
It doesn't matter if you're fit and healthy. I was fit and healthy. I know of a 12-year-old boy. He was a fit, healthy young football player. The doctors kept saying he had flu. He died. He died at the same time I was still in a coma fighting for my life. And it's heartbreaking. It breaks my heart every time I talk to his mum, because I think that little boy should still be alive. You know, he'd be 18 now. It's not fair.
How many people in the UK get it every year then? Roughly.
I'm not sure on numbers in the UK. It's a lot. I've got it written down somewhere. I should have checked that before I come on here. It is an awful lot. But every 3 seconds in the world, someone dies from sepsis. So that's a hell of a lot of people. Every 3 seconds. That's just absolutely crazy.
And a lot of the time it could be prevented if it was diagnosed.
Yeah, but there's a fine line between having sepsis and then recognising it with the septic shock. So you might go to hospital 1 minute and you seem okay to them, and maybe you haven't got the red flags with the high blood pressure, or it can be higher or lower than normal, the blood pressure, and your temperature can be higher or lower than normal. And sometimes you don't present at hospital with that, but then with an hour later you could have that, and it's a really fine line. I'm friends with a girl who is also now a quad amputee, because she went to hospital on Boxing Day and they sent her away thinking she was drunk. They thought, because she was young, she was a young single mum. She'd got a teenage son and a young child of, I think, 2 at the time. And she ended up losing all her limbs because the doctors said, oh, you're just drunk, go away. You know, they thought she'd been drinking too much over Christmas.
And what groups would you recommend to people that are suffering with sepsis, either themselves or a close relative? You mentioned a few.
Yeah, well, there's the UK Sepsis Trust they can go to, and there's the Sepsis Research FEAT charity, and the FEAT is spelled FEAT in capital letters. They both give out fantastic information. The Sepsis Research FEAT charity are a Scottish charity, and they are the only UK charity that are putting money into fundraising. Yeah. So I'm actually doing a big fundraiser this weekend at the Three Trees in Bletchley to try and raise money to help go towards the fundraising. I'm in several different groups trying to help with research, basically, to try and help with anything I can to do with research.
And you've done quite a lot of talks now, have you?
Yeah, I'm always doing talks. Yeah, I've never kept count of them, but I would imagine way over 100 talks, way over, you know, because I'm always going out doing talks. Yeah. So.
And how many followers do you have on your social media now?
Facebook, I think, is about 15,000. I think Instagram's about 3. TikTok is 42.1, I think it was. I'm not quite sure on Twitter how many. I don't know how you check on Twitter. I've not really looked, but yeah. So I tend to use mostly Facebook or Instagram and TikTok, really. And TikTok seems to have really kicked off big time. That's the account I've probably had the least longest. Facebook is the oldest one because I've always worked with Facebook. I know Facebook.
And I guess as well as your videos, I guess people are chatting to each other and supporting each other in those groups. And
yes, yeah. There are, I think, some Facebook support groups, mostly within the trusts for volunteers. I don't know so much as for anything else, really. There are a few groups for post-sepsis syndrome for afterwards, for your rehabilitation afterwards, but not an awful lot.
And your next event, Saturday, you said, at the Three Trees?
Yeah, that's on Saturday, 12:30 to 3:30. We've got a photo booth company coming. We've got a singer, a beautiful voice she's got, Maggie Moulds her name is, and we've got a face painter. So it's all for the family and to have fun and hopefully raise lots of money. I've got some incredible raffle prizes. I've had some wonderful responses from restaurants in Milton Keynes, some vouchers worth for £100, some for £50. So we have got some incredible prizes. And I just feel so grateful that all these companies are kind of behind me, supporting me to hopefully raise lots of money.
Is there any of those companies you'd like to mention?
Oh gosh, Tuk Tuk Thai restaurant, Big J's restaurant, the Anchor in Aspie Guys, the Cross Keys in Woolstone, Wavendon Arms, Charms by Joanna. Oh gosh, there's so many, I can't remember them all. I can't even think of half of them. Little Bow Bears. My mind's gone blank, sorry, but there are loads and loads of incredible prizes.
Excellent job getting support from local businesses then.
Yeah, great for the businesses too. Absolutely brilliant for them to get on the bandwagon, and you know, I'm just so grateful to them.
Fantastic. I'll put all of the details of that event and all of Kim's socials in the description below. It's very humbling to hear your story. It's very heroic what you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time. It's been lovely to speak to you today.
Yeah, it's been lovely to speak to you too. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks ever so much.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care. Thanks for watching, guys.